So as I get closer to getting the truck back on the road, the one thing I have not done yet is service the differential. I'm honestly not quite sure what the fluid level is or when it was last serviced. So far, of course, we've done the transmission flush. I've done an oil change. We've gone through the brakes. So lastly is just checking on the gears and the differential. So we're gonna get this cover off. Now these are all breaking free pretty easily. So as I'm removing all this hardware, the differential, which is a Dana 70, did have or does have the original ID plate that goes between these two, so I'll get that put back on. It is an open diff and it has 373 gears in it. So let's get this popped open and we'll see what everything else looks like on the inside. There we go. So I should be able to get it off. You want to be careful not to pry it too hard because you don't want to damage the surface on the differential. Put a gouge or scratch in it, which might give you some problems when it seals. Nice and clean. Except for the oil, of course, but definitely feels a little sticky, a little bit heavy. So we'll let that drain. We'll get the gasket service all cleaned up, and then we'll take a closer look at the gears. So now that I got the differential cover lightly cleaned up, it is ready to go back on the truck. I'm not too concerned with how it looks. So again, a light cleaning is just fine. And just to go over the type of gasket that I'm going to use, it's from Lube Locker. The Dana 60 and the 70 F350 actually has the same gasket, and I was very happy with them. So I'll show you guys what it looks like. So a few reasons as to why I really like this gasket is it's actually a piece of metal, super thin metal all the way around. I don't know if you guys will be able to see it. Maybe you can kind of catch a reflection or the lighting, but it's super thin metal coated with rubber. Then of course you got these three little rows of almost like an RTV around the bolt holes as well, so that helps it seal up. So it won't kind of bulge out or expand or split when you torque it down. I've had, you know, really good luck with this, or had no issues with it on the Dana 60, like I mentioned. So we're gonna go ahead and put this on the truck. I would definitely recommend it if you guys wanna check them out, lubelocker.com. Let's get this on the truck. So it took me a while, but I got the sealing surface on the differential all cleaned up. I'm at a point where I'm happy with it. Doesn't need to be perfect and spotless, but to the touch, everything is nice and smooth. I shouldn't have any issues. So now we're just gonna reassemble everything, put the gasket in and the cover back on. Everything looks good on the inside here. One thing I don't think I mentioned is with this gasket, you don't need any sealant. So you're able to use it as a dry install. So makes it nice and simple. So we'll go ahead and line this up, and then we'll get the cover in place. So we'll start threading in some of these top locations first. Actually, that one first, so that the gasket can line up all along the bottom. And once we get it started, we should be able to line the rest of the bolt holes up. So now we'll get everything just tightened back up, and then we will pull the plug and fill it with fluid. Tighten these all just a little bit and evenly all the way around. So the last thing to do is refill the differential. So we'll get the plug off. Very simple. So the oil I'm going to be using is Lucas heavy duty high performance gear oil. It is 80-90 weight, which is right in the middle. I believe there's 3 different ones. I do plan on using this truck to tow a little bit, so since I'm servicing the differential at this point, kind of decided to go with some decent oil. So as far as filling it and a fill level, it's right up until the plug here. So you're just filling it, and once it starts to pour back out, that's when you know it's at the correct level and you're good to go. So I had a little bit of a hiccup last night. I realized that I had only purchased 3 quarts and the differential takes 3.5. So I had to go pick up an extra bottle this morning. We should be able to get this topped off. And like I mentioned, it should just start pouring out a little bit once you're at the correct level. So I can see it right where it needs to be. If I pour any extra, that's slowly just about to start dripping out. So I'm gonna leave it there. We'll get this capped off, and next thing is installing the spare. Last thing I had to do was to mount the spare, and as you guys can see, I've already got that all done. I know that this truck came with the spare from the factory just because I actually have the Marty report for the truck, which I'll be going over in a later video. Kind of a cool side note on that is this truck was bought brand new here in Fresno. It was purchased as a fleet vehicle, which I believe to get that designation, you have to order 5 or more. So we'll be going over that. We'll be visiting where the dealership was, where this was bought brand new. The dealership is no longer there, but as far as the spare, all of this hardware came off of the 70 F250. I believe it is correct for this year. I'm not sure when Ford changed it up, but I know that because when I bought this truck and it had the flatbed on it, in one of the storage compartments, I had the bolts in there and an extra carrier, so I do have an extra one of these. The issue with the bolts was one of them was really badly bent and the other one was cut in half. So this would have been the correct setup, I believe, but I have a spare now, so if we ever need it. The rim I did pick up at Turner's. It has the little recesses there. It goes every other. I believe they're called acorns. I'm not completely sure on that, but it matches the rest of them. All the other rims on the truck are the same, so they interlock with themselves in the middle there. I thought about getting it powder coated, but I eventually want to do all of them, so I figured I'd wait on that. But getting closer and closer.